On Monday, April 24th, Tucker Carlson was essentially fired from Fox News.
Well, it is the biggest media news of the last decade. Tucker Carlson has been apparently fired by Fox News. The statement that was originally put out by Fox News media suggested an agreement to part ways, but we can all tell that that is not exactly what happened.
It seems clear that even on Friday, Tucker had no idea that he would not be doing a show on Monday. Here's what Tucker said before he signed off for the weekend.
Tyler Burrell joins us in studio. He will deliver literally anywhere. Tyler, it is so great to meet you in person.
A couple Coco's pies.
So these are from Coco's, established 1978. This is sausage.
That's sausage.
And pineapple. And really quick, as a pizza professional, do you look down on this order? Is this?
I do. I think that. I consider a criminal.
I knew you did. That's it for us for the week. We'll be back. By the way, the entire episode of Let Them Eat Bugs, not quite as good as pizza, streaming now on Fox Nation. Use the promo code ORIGINALS for 30 days free. And we'll be back on Monday. In the meantime, have the best weekend with the ones that you love.
And that very weekend, Tucker had given a speech for the Heritage Foundation without any knowledge of what was about to happen.
So when I started at Heritage, the presumption was, and this is a very Anglo-American assumption, that the debates we're having are kind of rational debates about the way to get to mutually agreed upon outcomes. If you have people who are saying, I have an idea, let's castrate the next generation. Let's sexually mutilate children. I'm sorry, that's not a political debate. What? It has nothing to do with politics. What's the outcome we're desiring here? If you say, well, I think abortion is always bad, well, I think sometimes it's necessary, that's a debate I'm familiar with. But if you're telling me that abortion is a positive good, what are you saying? Well, you're arguing for child sacrifice, obviously. When people or crowds of people, or the largest crowd of people at all, which is the federal government, the largest human organization in human history, decide that the goal is to destroy things, destruction for its own sake. Hey, let's tear it down. What you're watching is not a political movement, it's evil.
This may be merely coincidental, but Fox News fired Tucker Carlson almost immediately after Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez called for the government to censor Tucker in an interview with former Biden press secretary Jen Psaki.
Federal regulation in terms of what's allowed on air and what isn't. And when you look at what Tucker Carlson and some of these other folks on Fox do, it is very, very clearly incitement of violence. Very clearly incitement of violence. And that is the line that I think we have to be willing to contend with.
Here was the official terse statement from Fox News regarding Tucker Carlson being fired.
We have some news from within our Fox family. Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have mutually agreed to part ways. Tucker's last show was this past Friday. And starting tonight, Fox News Tonight will air live at 8 p.m. Eastern. It will be an interim show with rotating Fox News personalities until a new host is named. We want to thank Tucker Carlson for his service to the network as a host and prior to that as a long-term contributor.
Good evening, it's Tucker Carlson. One of the first things you realize when you step outside the noise for a few days is how many genuinely nice people there are in this country. Kind and decent people who really care about what's true, and a bunch of hilarious people also. A lot of those. It's got to be the majority of the population, even now. So that's hard. The other thing you notice when you take a little time off is how unbelievably stupid most of the debates you see on television are. They're completely irrelevant. They mean nothing. In 5 years, we won't even remember that we had them. Trust me, as someone who's participated. And yet at the same time, and this is the amazing, the undeniably big topics, the ones that will define our future, get virtually no discussion at all. War, civil liberties, emerging science, demographic change, corporate power, natural resources. When was the last time you heard a legitimate debate about any of those issues? It's been a long time. Debates like that are not permitted in American media. Both political parties and their donors have reached consensus on what benefits them, and they actively collude to shut down any conversation about it. Suddenly, the United States looks very much like a one-party state. That's a depressing realization, but it's not permanent. Our current orthodoxy won't last. They're brain dead. Nobody actually believes them. Hardly anyone's life is improved by them. This moment is too inherently ridiculous to continue, and so it won't. The people in charge know this. That's why they're hysterical and aggressive. They're afraid. They've given up persuasion. They're resorting to force. But it won't work. When honest people say what's true, calmly and without embarrassment, they become powerful. At the same time, the liars who've been trying to silence them shrink. They become weaker. That's the iron law of the universe. True things prevail. Where can you still find Americans saying true things? There aren't many places left, but there are some, and that's enough. As long as you can hear the words, there is hope. See you soon.
Interestingly, within minutes of Fox News announcing Tucker Carlson's departure from the network, Don Lemon announced that he had been fired from CNN.
And then as far as Don Lemon, according to Lemon, he just got fired. Posting on Twitter and whatever the hell this font is. I was informed this morning by my agent that I have been terminated by CNN. I am stunned. After 17 years at CNN, I would have thought someone in management would have had the decency to tell me directly. At no time was I ever given any indication that I would not be able to continue to do the work I have loved at the network. It is clear that there are some larger issues at play. With that said, I want to thank my colleagues and the many teams I have worked with for an incredible run. They're the most talented journalists in the business, and I wish them all the best.
CNN's response to Lemon's tweet was kind of strange.
Which CNN Communications responded, "What are you talking about?" Tweeting, Don Lemon's statement about this morning's events is inaccurate. He was offered an opportunity to meet with management, but instead released a statement on Twitter. But then you also had comments from the CEO of CNN who said in a memo that Lemon and the network parted ways, but that Lemon will, quote, forever be a part of the CNN family. So a few different takes just floating out there about how all this actually went down.
Lemon being fired from CNN comes soon after some controversial things he said on air. In this clip, Lemon said something sexist concerning Nikki Haley, and watch his co-hosts immediately push back against what he says.
This whole talk about age makes me uncomfortable. I think it's the wrong road to go down. She says people, politicians or something are not in their prime. Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What are you talking? Wait.
That's not according to me.
Prime for what?
Depends. It's just like prime. If you look it up, if you Google when is a woman in her prime, it'll say 20s, 30s, and 40s. I don't necessarily.
40s. Oh, I got another.
I'm not saying I agree with that. So I think she has to be careful about saying that politicians aren't in their prime.
You need to qualify. Are you talking about prime for like childbearing, or are you talking about prime for being president?
What the facts are. Google it. Everybody at home. When is a woman in her prime? It says 20s, 30s, and 40s. I'm just saying Nikki Haley should be careful about saying that politicians are not in their prime.
And in this interview with Vivek Ramaswamy, watch Lemon play the race card instead of actually debating the issue at hand, and then promptly ending the interview. And notice his co-host sitting quietly without saying anything, knowing that Lemon is behaving poorly.
You are sitting here telling an African American about the rights and what you find insulting about the way I live, the skin I live in every day.
Here's where you and I have a different point of view.
Black and white that black people don't have in this country, and that black people do have.
Well, here's where you and I have a different point of view. I think we should be able to express our views regardless of the color of our skin. We should have this debate.
I'm not saying you
without me regarding you as a black man,
but
me regarding you as a fellow citizen.
That's what I think we should say. Whatever ethnicity you are, explaining to me
whatever ethnicity
about what it's like to be black.
Whatever ethnicity I am, I'll tell you what I am. I'm an Indian American. I'm proud of it. But I think we should have this debate. Black, white, doesn't matter.
I think we should have this
on
debate.
The content of the ideas.
If you're going to do it, you should do it in an honest way and in a fair way. And what you're doing is not an honest and fair way. Okay? But we appreciate you coming on.
With due respect, Don, I look forward to continuing that conversation.
Thank you. The conversation.
Thank you.
How are people responding to Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon, two of the biggest media personalities on television, being fired? And how should we as Christians respond? Some are celebrating the departure of Tucker Carlson from Fox News.
Word has just come down that Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have agreed to part ways. Thank you for his service to the network and hosted a prior contributor. Wave.
Well, can I ask the audience if they'll help me do something? Come on, folks. Na 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 na. Hey, goodbye. Na 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 na.
Others are supportive of Tucker Carlson.
They're disgusting. She's Anna Navarro in your wildest imagination. You could never solo host a show. You will only ever make it as part of an ensemble, and you could never hope to achieve the success that Tucker Carlson has. So you can sit in your little cheap seats all day long and enjoy your little negative henpecking, but your careers are going nowhere, and Tucker is about to dominate in whatever space he goes to.
Regarding moral issues, Tucker said a lot of things that we would completely agree with. For example, in contrast to those in the mainstream media who portrayed the Nashville shooter as the real victim, Tucker rightly identified Christians as being the victim in this shooting.
And yet somehow the Attorney General informs us that a motive has not yet been identified. Well, he's lying. They all are lying. We can't see the manifesto because the transgender lobby, which has far more power than you do, has pressured politicians to keep it hidden. But we can be certain what it says. Monday's victims were murdered because they were Christian. It's that simple. Transgenderists hate Christians above all.
As Christians, we understand that Christians will be targeted, even killed, by those who hate the truth that we refuse to compromise about.
I have proclaimed the gospel, and now I am going to endure suffering to the point of death because of the gospel that I have preserved and proclaimed. And when they kill me, take my place, both in preserving and proclaiming, and if necessary, in dying.
Similarly, Tucker sided with a Christian student who was arrested for speaking up about girls in the school being able to use the bathroom without fear of biological males entering the bathroom.
Josh, first to you. You were arrested because you showed up on campus at a Catholic school for saying that men and women are different. Have we overstated that?
No, that's exactly what happened.
Although Tucker certainly is not perfect, it seems that much of the criticism that is leveled against him is exactly the same kind of criticism that would be and is leveled against Christians in general who boldly stand for God's moral law as revealed in the Bible.
So if you ask, why do they hate us? What's the answer? Because we're not part of the system. We exist as a non-absorbed entity. We are a problem.
Like much of what Tucker says, we as Christians likewise say things that do not conform to the narrative of the culture and the mainstream media.
But in all seriousness, as Christians, if we are not careful, we can fall into the trap, shaving off the edges of the truth so that we can be like.
In contrast to Tucker Carlson, who stands for many of the same things we stand for as Christians, Don Lemon stands directly against these very same things. Lemon tells Christians that they need to re-examine their beliefs concerning gay marriage because he knows more about who God is than Christians do.
But if you believe in something that hurts another person, that does not give someone the same rights or freedoms, not necessarily under the Constitution, because this is under God, I think that that's wrong. And I think that the Catholic Church and many other churches really need to re-examine themselves and their teachings, because that is not what God is about. God is not about hindering people or even judging people.
And as we have already covered earlier, Lemon is notorious for identity politics and dividing people based on the color of their skin.
This whole anti-police rhetoric is based on a lie. There is no data, and you know this. There is no data, there is no research that proves any of that nonsense. None.
You'd have to be more specific about what data and what nonsense you're talking about.
That law enforcement officers treat black males different than white males in policing in these urban centers.
There is data that's supported.
There is not data.
The president spoke about it. Cedric Alexander,
who is a law enforcement officer. The president has been lying about it.
All right, everybody, please listen to this segment, because actor and activist Terry Crews facing backlash for tweeting, "We must ensure Black Lives Matter doesn't morph into Black Lives Better." Here's how he explained it. Are all white people bad? No. Are all black people good? No. Knowing this reality, I stand on my decision to unite with good people, no matter the race, creed, or ideology. Given the number of threats against this decision, I also decide to die on this hill. Terry Crews joins me now. Terry, man, you stepped in it.
The cultural hegemony is patriarchal. The cultural hegemony, for example, in our society is white, male, heterosexual, cisgendered, able-bodied, native-born American. You know who you are. And everybody who's not that is a minority. And everybody who's not that is a victim of the cultural hegemony established by those individuals, which means that everybody who's not that is at war with that.
Ultimately, however, we as Christians should remember that neither Tucker Carlson nor Don Lemon are proclaiming the gospel of Jesus Christ, which is the most important message that lost sinners need to hear.
At this moment, God commands all men to repent and believe that today is the day of salvation, that you are to flee from the wrath to come, to flee from the law of Moses that condemns you into the city of refuge, who is Jesus Christ our Lord. Run to Him.
Thank you so much for watching. If you like these videos and want to help support this channel, the best way to do it is to just watch these videos until the end and click the subscribe button. Thank you so much for your support and encouragement.